Welcome to the second video in our video series on how to use flock metrics to get better data and insights for raising your egg layers. From our website here, you'll want to go through and actually hit download now and make your purchase. After you hit add to cart, you can go ahead, continue the shopping experience, and after you pay and check out, you will be presented with this screen. As soon as you hit download now, you're going to get this screen that will copy it to your Google Drive. So you'll hit make a copy. And now you have a copy on your Google Drive. The first thing you want to do here is make another copy of this. I would go to File, Make a Copy, and then you would title it whatever you want. I would usually do, the years that you're doing. So if this is, for example, 2003 to 2005, I would say 23-25 flock metrics or whatever. Just something that you can identify what it is on your Google Drive, and then leave this blank old one to come back to either if something gets messed up, or for future years, you can continue using this year after year. After you make your copy and have it named whatever you need, the next thing to do is to change the years. So starting here we have 2003, 2004, 2005. Now let's say, for example, if you are starting this in the year 2024, what we'll want to do, this will be 2024, 2025, 2026 here down at the bottom in these tabs. So what we would do is start at the end. We would rename this. We would hit this arrow and hit rename and say 2026. Then this one, we would rename this one to 2025. And then we would do this one to 2024. I'm going to undo that though, because this is 2023. But you would basically do that for, whatever years you're starting off on. Same thing with these, your 2003, 2004, 2005. You do the same thing, but start with the last year and work your way backwards. Reason for that being is if you started in 2004, for example, and you try to name this one 2024, you can't, because this one's already named 2024. So you start at the last one and work your way backwards, and that solves that problem. So after you have all your dates fixed, you're then going to go to your global data. And right here where it has January 1st, 2023, you can change the date to January 1st of whatever year you're starting. For example, if you're starting in 2024, like the previous example, we would go to January 1st, 2024. Even if it's February or March or July or whatever the month is. So to get this set up and ready for you, you need to enter in your flock. Under breed, you're going to put in all the breeds that you have. So for example, if I have some Rhode Island Reds, or red, and then the start date is going to be whatever day you are starting to track your information. So let's just say, for example, this is 3/3 of 2023, and these guys were hatched. We'll say they were hatched a year ago, for example, 2/1 of 2022, and we have 10 of them. And you would continue that for however many breeds you have. You would list the breeds here. Now, for example, if you have different ages of the same breed, for example, this Rhode Island Red, perhaps we had some that were born on 2/1/22 or February 1st of 2022. Perhaps we have some other ones that were just hatched out. Let's say they were today, they just hatched out. So we will again put Rhode Island Reds and our start date and our hatch date, which is today. We'll say they were just hatched today, for example, whatever the hatch date is. And let's say we got, 25 of them. So now it has 2 Rhode Island Reds, and it shows how many we have here of each. Over here, we can see our flock makeup. Rhode Island Reds is 100% of our flock right now. Average age is 6.5 months, because we got 25 of them that are a day old, not even, and 35 birds total. This is your daily feed amount based on that, what we just entered. But you can continue filling this in with whatever breeds you have. The start date would be whatever day you're starting to log information. Or if you have some layers that come and join your flock at a later date. For example, let's say we have some leghorns that come in, and they're starting in July 20th of 23. So they're starting July 20th of 23. Then of course their birth date and everything else you can fill in. And we'll say they're the same age as these guys, for example. It doesn't really matter too much right now. We have 8 of them, we'll say. So again, just continue on down. And that will build out your flock. And based on how old they are, how many birds you have, it will give you recommended feeding amounts based on that. Next up, we need to put in our feed cost. So your feed you will put in here. So you want to put some sort of unique identifier, whether it's 16% layer feed or, you know, whatever, so some sort of unique identifier. If you want to put a brand name there and what it is, if it's scratch or whatever. I usually like to put the month and year as well. Reason for that being is that if by chance I want to use that same feed, but the feed prices change, then I can just say, well, we got the same thing here, but on this one, it's going to be, let's say they changed in July. Oops. So let's say they changed prices in July and it went up a little bit. It's now 55 cents a pound, you know, and so forth and so on. So you can adjust the pricing there for all your feed. But that way it's the same feed as this other one. It's just a different price now. But again, any feeds that you do use, you would put in here. As feed cost changes, you can add them in. For cost categories, you can literally add anything you want in there. This would just be things that you want to track expenses on, whether it's stuff for bedding, or if you want to track the cost of supplies like, you know, feeders or waterers or whatever you want to do. Basically anything other than the price of feed or egg cartons goes in there. If you want to track the cost of the chicks that you bought, so livestock cost, you can do that too. Whatever you want, you can put in there. For your egg cartons, this is just like the feed. I put some sort of unique identifier in there, and if prices change or whatever, then you have some room. You may be using the same egg cartons, but maybe prices change or you go to a different supplier, whatever. But you have a big long list there, so if the prices on your egg cartons change, you can adjust that. Next up, we have recommended feeding amounts. You can leave this as is, or if you want to change it, you can. But this is a recommended amount of feed that one chicken should get per day at this age in months. So at 1 month of age, they should be getting 0.07 pounds of feed per day. At 2 months of age, 0.1 pounds of feed per day per chicken, and so forth and so on. Once they reach 5 months in age, they should be eating about 1/4 pound of feed per day. From that point forward. Again, these are just kind of guidelines, rule of thumbs, but there are factors that may change this, but this is just a general rule of thumb. Think of these as a target you want to hit. Your price per dozen here, you can, if you are selling your eggs, you can put in your price per dozen right there. Your locations. This is where you have your chickens being raised. So if you have multiple pastures or barns or different shelters or whatever, and you kind of want to track the productivity based on location, you can list different locations here. If you only have one location, you're not planning on doing that, you can just totally ignore this section. And then loss categories. If you want to put in specific illnesses they have, or whatever, basically any kind of reason for death, you can list those here. So after you have all that set up, all the hard work is done and out of the way. From here on forward, It's literally just a few seconds a day, and you can start logging your information. So join me in the next video in this series, and we will go over how to log your information on a daily basis.